Hello, and welcome back to Angelica's Morbid Minutes. I'm Angelica, your voice moving beneath the bridges of Maine where the rain never quite washes memory clean. Trigger warning. This story contains descriptions of homophobic violence and hate crime. Listener discretion is advised. Bangor, Maine, July 7th, 1984. One of those summer nights when the sky can't decide between drizzle and darkness. Street lamps hum, storefront glass glows wet gold, and everything feels small enough to be safe. At least, it looks that way. The Penobscot Stream, cold, narrow, cutting straight through the city, moves under State Street Bridge like a muscle flexing in its sleep. People call Bangor peaceful, but peace isn't always goodness. Sometimes it's just silence that hasn't been tested yet. Charlie Howard was 23. He liked linen shirts, thin scarves, perfume that left a shimmer of lavender in the air. He was openly gay in a town that still whispered the word like it might burn the tongue. He believed visibility was a promise, that if he walked without fear, maybe the world would learn not to fear him. That night, he left the Metropolitan Community Church after a social meeting, a space that doubled as sanctuary and beacon for Bangor's small queer community. He walked home with a friend, laughing under umbrellas that caught the streetlight and spilled it into the rain. From the opposite lane came a 1973 Buick Skylark, faded blue, engine growling low. Inside, 3 teenage boys, James Francis, Daniel Nason, and Scott Hamilton. They were 17, 18, and 19, still learning how manhood was supposed to sound. They rolled down the window. Words flew out. Ugly. Practice, too familiar to have been invented that night. The kind of words you inherit like family silver. Charlie kept walking. His friend hissed, "Ignore them." But hate is a thing that needs an audience. Without one, it creates its own. The car swung around, tires sliced through puddles, spraying dirty water like punctuation. They followed the 2 men up State Street, laughing, calling them names. A door slammed open, then another, then running. The rain had turned the pavement to glass. Charlie's shoes skidded as he bolted for the bridge. His friend ducked into an alley to find help. Charlie didn't make it that far. The boys caught him by the rail, the metal slick under their hands. They shoved him, laughed, and kept talking because words are easier to throw than guilt. He said he couldn't swim. He said please. They answered with gravity. The drop was about 20 feet, enough for shock to outrun air. The Penobscot doesn't welcome, it takes. Cold closes around lungs like a fist. Charlie fought for seconds that felt like centuries. Above him, the boys waited to see if he'd come up. He didn't. Their silence afterward wasn't remorse. It was relief. They had done it. They had proved something to themselves about power, and power felt good. They got back in the car and left. Morning found Bangor in its routine half-sleep. The smell of coffee, church bells, headlines about weather and tax rates. Then a news bulletin. A young man missing after an attack on State Street Bridge. Search and rescue teams moved in with boats and ropes. The city watched from the railings, the water below looking too calm to hold anything as awful as truth. They found him the next morning, downstream, caught in the weeds by the culvert. His body was bent in on itself as if protecting the heart. A small necklace rested in his hand. Some say he'd clutched it until the end. Maybe he did. Maybe we need him to have done so because we need one thing in this story that stayed whole. News traveled fast. Too fast for some, not fast enough for others. Phones rang. Reporters drove up from Portland. Television crews showed up at the bridge, their lights cutting through morning fog like new interrogations. Bangor was not ready to see itself on camera. City officials called it the crime, a terrible accident involving youthful recklessness. Words that tried to sweep blood under bureaucracy. The boys were caught within days. They talked freely, bragged a little at first, then tears, the kind that ask for sympathy instead of forgiveness. The court called it manslaughter. Their sentences were light: probation, detention, rehabilitation courses. They were children, the judge said, but Charlie had been somebody's child too. Justice measured in years never balances grief measured in decades. Outside the courthouse, a crowd formed. Some held signs. Some just stood with hands in pockets, not sure what to do with them. Reporters called it the first time Bangor had to say the word gay into a microphone and not whisper. For a place used to quiet, it was an awkward education. Then came the flowers. Plastic cups of roses, lilies, wildflowers. Pulled from backyards. Lined along the bridge rail where the rain couldn't quite wash them away. Someone left a note that read, "You are loved." Another, "We'll walk home for you." Tape held fast until sun and wind peeled it back, leaving pale ghosts of glue like fingerprints on metal. And that's where the real story starts. After the crime, in the slow turning of a city towards its own reflection, because a river is only still until it is stirred. The bridge became Bangor's mirror. What people saw in it depended on how much truth they could stomach. Some said, "It's not who we are." Others admitted, "It's exactly who we've been." The local paper's letters section became a battleground of handwriting. Half outrage, half justification. "Why flaunt it?" one reader asked. "Why live like that in a small town?" Another answered simply, "Because we exist here too." For the first time, Bangor's queer residents found themselves not just surviving, but speaking. The Metropolitan Community Church swelled with attendees. The pews overflowed into folding chairs. The pastor stopped ending sermons with "Go in peace" and began ending them with "Go safely." Volunteers started a small phone tree. Numbers passed hand to hand so that no one would walk home alone again. The police called the killing an isolated act. That phrase burned more than comforted, because anyone who had been followed out of a diner or shoved in a parking lot knew it wasn't isolated. It was just the first time the town had to watch. Fear became visible, and visibility is contagious. Parents told their kids to stay away from the bridge, some out of superstition, others out of guilt. But the kids went anyway. Teenagers carved initials into the rail, and right beside them, someone etched Charlie. Each year, the rain rubbed the lines smoother, but it had never erased them. The following summer, July 1985, the Metropolitan Community Church organized Bangor's first Pride March. Only about 100 people showed up, some from as far as Portland, some from Boston who had read about Charlie's death in the Globe. They gathered in the drizzle, plastic ponchos over t-shirts, cardboard signs sagging with water. Police escorts flanked them, not to protect, but to manage. Onlookers jeered from storefronts. A few threw eggs, but the marchers kept walking. When they reached State Street Bridge, the crowd fell quiet. Someone began to sing Amazing Grace. Others joined, their voices shaking. It wasn't a hymn that night. It was a resistance in 4 chords. That march didn't make Bangor safe overnight, but it cracked something open. The following year, there were twice as many marchers. By 1987, the City Council had received petitions demanding non-discrimination language in employment. It would take years, but the sentence eventually found its way into law. Every policy has a ghost written into it. Charlie's signature is invisible, but there. His mother, Madeline, refused interviews. Reporters waited outside her house for months after the trial, hoping for a quote. She kept the curtains drawn. She went to the bridge at night instead. Locals remember seeing her there, small figure, cigarette ember glowing, thermos in hand. Once, a policeman offered to drive her home. She said, "He walked it, so will I." The 3 boys faded from headlines, then from the city itself. 2 moved away. 1 stayed and kept his head down. Years later, one of them, Scott Hamilton, spoke publicly, saying he was sorry, that he was trying to make amends. He said he still dreamed about the sounds of the splash. Maybe that was repentance. Maybe it was memory doing its job. Either way, apology doesn't resurrect. Bangor learned to live beside that record. By the 90s, the annual vigil at the bridge had become tradition. People left flowers and small stones. Stones because they stay. Students from the local high school organized candlelight walks. In 2014, on the 30th anniversary, the city dedicated a bronze plaque in memory of Charlie Howard, 1961 to 1984. His life and death changed Bangor forever. The mayor read the inscription aloud. The police chief stood beside him. The current pastor of Charlie's old church led a prayer that ended, not in silence, but applause. Progress never feels fast enough. But when the crowd dispersed that day, someone noticed a rainbow reflected in the puddles on the pavement. Half coincidence, half benediction. Maybe that's how change happens. A reflection first, then a little light. The Penobscot still runs under State Street Bridge, its current quick and narrow, whispering over stones. If you lean on the railing, you can hear 2 sounds layered over each other. The hum of traffic above and the hush of water below. One belongs to the living, and one belongs to memory. Between them is history. Bangor's quiet changed pitch after that. For years, people would pause when the topic came up. At coffee counters, in grocery aisles, at the laundromat. No one wanted to be the first to say it out loud. that what happened to Charlie Howard hadn't been random. It had been rehearsed in jokes and sermons, in that long silence that came whenever someone said gay and nobody corrected the sneer. The murder forced Bangor to see itself. That was the real violence, the wound that lingered, realizing that hate doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it smiles at you in the mirror. The town wanted to move on, to file the story away as something terrible but finished. Yet every July, the river refused to cooperate. It glittered like wet glass and brought it back. In the 1990s, Bangor High School student paper ran an editorial titled "The Bridge We Cross Every Day." The writer, a senior named Leah Thompson, had been born a year after Charlie died. She called him the boy who taught this city to look up. Her article was reprinted in regional papers and ended up on bulletin boards in schools across Maine. That's how generational memory works. It passes like current through water, invisible but constant. Community centers began offering youth drop-ins, first in church basements, later in rented storefronts. In those rooms, kids could hold hands, share stories, learn names for themselves they'd never been allowed to speak. Bangor didn't become a paradise. It became honest. And honest is the beginning of safety. Still, the town kept wrestling with the story's discomfort. When filmmakers approached the city about a documentary in 1997, some residents objected. "Haven't we mourned enough?" they asked. But mourning isn't the same as remembering. Mourning ends. Remembering continues, sharp and useful, like a key that keeps turning locks open. Charlie's friends organized scholarships in his name, small grants for LGBTQ students heading to college. At first, they could only afford one a year. Today, there are 3. Each recipient writes a short essay reflecting on what courage means to them. The winning lines vary, but one sentiment repeats: visibility saves lives. If you talk to older residents now, they'll tell you the story differently. Some soften the edges, turn the push into a stumble, the slurs into teasing. But the river doesn't edit. It holds the original draft, word for word. That's why the plaque stays, to anchor truth in metal. We're good at rewriting tragedy until it flatters us. History's job is to us from doing that. Every summer, the Pride March crosses the bridge again. There's music now. Brass bands, drag queens, kids on scooters painted like mermaids. The laughter echoes against concrete, bounces off the water, comes back louder. That echo is defiance. It's Bangor saying, "We are still here, and so is he." And yet, beneath celebration, accountability hums, because progress isn't a finish line. It's a responsibility. Every time someone tells Charlie's story, they inherit a piece of it. The lesson isn't just that hate kills, it's that apathy breeds it. The boys who threw him weren't monsters. They were products. They were what happens when cruelty is normalized, when difference is treated like offense. If we can name that, we can stop repeating it. Sometimes I think about the geography of empathy, how it's mapped through sound. The rush of water, the low hum of tires, the crack of thunder over the Penobscot. Maine is full of quiet, but quiet isn't always peace. It can be the pause before someone speaks up, or before someone decides not to. In that difference lies the whole future of a town. Imagine Bangor without that night. Would pride exist there now? Would protections have been written sooner, or never at all? Pain shouldn't be prerequisite for progress, but it often is. Charlie's name became the fulcrum that tipped a city toward empathy. That's not redemption. It's responsibility accepted at last. Today, if you stand on State Street Bridge after dark, you can see tiny votive lights drifting in the current. People send them every July 7th, some with names written on the sides, others blank, carrying only the flame. The water takes them, one by one, a slow procession downstream. From above, it looks like the river is remembering in Morse code. And when the last candle disappears around the bend, the night hums with a kind of heavy calm. The city exhales, not in relief, recognition. The story hasn't ended, it's simply found its rhythm. Because remembrance is not nostalgia, it's vigilance. The moment we stop telling his story, the water goes quiet again. And silence is exactly what killed him. So we keep talking. We keep walking over that bridge. We keep naming him. That's how you fight hate. Not with volume, but with endurance. Charlie's endurance. Our endurance. Next time, we leave Bangor's rain behind for another storm. Across the Atlantic, where institutions baptized cruelty in soap and called it salvation. Episode 3, Scrubbed Raw, Ireland's Magdalene Laundries. Until then, if you cross a bridge tonight, leave a thought like a candle, small, bright, and stubborn against the wind.